back to the Move Point Podcast, episode 7. Once again, I'm Amari.
And I'm Miles.
And yeah, I guess Miles is gonna address the YouTube comment that we got.
You want to read it off? Cause
I got you.
I don't got it pulled up.
The comment says, it's why Kello Fitz says, I feel like the timing was bad because he gave the Trump administration the opportunity to use him as a pawn in their campaign.
Yeah, first of all, we appreciate the comment. Like we always say, we encourage comments. But I really don't feel like he could be used as a pawn. Like, I mean, first of all, a lot of people, like, they didn't like the move, number one. And then number two is, like, I don't really think, like, that's just, like, I feel like that would push away some of Trump's supporters. Like, okay, if they're supposed to be racist supporters, a lot of them supposed to be racist, you know, just feel the way that they feel. If he's, like, I guess, looking out for black people now, that would be pushing, like, a whole different agenda, and I feel like he would lose more than he would gain, so I don't feel like Ice Cube's being used as a pawn. So.
Oh, and for one, just to side, we're kind of feeling this during like a hurricane, so apologize if the lights keep flipping on and off. But when it comes to that comment, I mean, it's up to debate on whether it's gonna push supporters away. I feel as if like the fear is that he's being used to get the black vote, which I mean, I feel like we're at a point where we kind of understand what's going on and we're pretty aware of the tactics that politicians use and the lies they use, and we're pretty aware of what we should be doing and how to fix certain things that are going on, like just because of our president and in our community. And so I think now we're moving towards that. So I mean, obviously it's kind of, it could be seen as bad timing, but I feel as if,
I mean, he's definitely bad timing. We discussed that.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, as far as him being used as a pawn, I mean, I don't think that's gonna help Trump.
Yeah.
And because like his supporters don't want to hear that. They don't want to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's true. I agree with that. But I guess since we're on this note, we talk about voting. The election day is November 3rd. So if you haven't voted early yet, make sure you guys go out there.
I think it might. I don't know if early voting is over with. It's probably like 2-3 days. I mean, it's different for different states, so I don't know where you could be watching this at, but I think it's almost over for us. I mean, because I guess they give a little break before, the actual election day.
Yeah, but that's definitely gonna be a big day. I was reading some reports about it. They were saying how like this election is the biggest election that we've had. Well, I'm 23, so the biggest election that I had in my lifetime, even bigger than the Barack Obama one because of the implications behind it. I don't know if I agree with that completely, just because of the fact that Barack Obama becoming president was a very big thing in history, but I do kind of see where they're coming from. So it's very important to vote. I see the posts, social media posts, and some news reporters saying that it's kind of like the most.
I mean, the early voters, they're out there.
Yeah.
I mean, like the numbers are up, so there's no denying that. And,
yeah.
And that's good. I mean, I feel like even if you have mixed feelings about it, you should vote. Like, you can always feel like, oh well, nothing's gonna change or something like that. But I feel like it's very important as a community to see that, we can actually come together and do something, like, despite different views on it. So like, you might not think that, it'll change, but you're like, okay, look at all the black people, we came together, we actually came out, we voted, we actually took action towards something. So I feel like there's beauty in that.
Yeah.
So, and also our ancestors, like, again, they fought for that. So, that'll be acknowledging them as well. So
yeah, just like we talked about, I think it was episode 1 or 2. Yeah, how like people fought for these rights and people died for these rights, and people, like, for example, like some of our grandparents, great grandparents, like they look at us and they're like we pay the way for this, and like they're happy to see that we're even able to vote and our voice, even though sometimes people feel as if our voice doesn't matter in the whole grand scheme of the democratic system, we at least need to try to voice it and try to speak loud so that people can hear us. And this is my first time voting, so the fact that I voted, I feel good that I was able to do that and able to put some input in how the future could pan out.
And a few things elaborate on voting a little bit more, like we have to focus on local elections too. Well, number one, it doesn't take that. It didn't take that long. Like, and I know you see all these poll lines, but for me, how long did it take for you? How long were you in line?
Probably like 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, I was in line
it
for
depends
30
on what time
minutes.
you go.
I mean, even if you're in line for a couple hours, this is a presidential election. Like, this once every 4 years. Like, you can't take a couple hours out every 4 years, and that's another point. Like, we want to make change. We want to see change that requires action. We want to take action. Like, there's going to have to be some sacrifices. Like this is a small sacrifice, and this won't be the only sacrifice. So even though that we're voting, you know what I'm saying, it's still things that we have to do. Like, even if everything we wanted, like, change, everything we wanted pushed, it's still like problems and things going on in our community that we need to work on, and we need to focus on. So it's like voting is not the only answer. Like, this is just a step. Like,
a small step to a bigger, a bigger thing.
Just showing action. Like I'm saying, it's just beauty in that. So like, if you haven't voted, you just get out there and vote, man. Just for like the reasons that I mentioned. Even if you're not all the way there with it, like just do that.
Well, sure. I think it's also, while we're on this topic, don't want to harp on it too much, but also, I want to talk about like the options they have, because there's so many people to vote for. I didn't realize there was that many people to like vote for.
Yeah.
And then at the end, there's so many different things, like so many different like laws and clauses and stuff, and like all that stuff that you want to like say yes or no to. And I'm sitting there reading it, and I really feel like it's important. Honestly, I feel like it's important for like people to learn how to vote, because like there's so many things in there, like so many things that like it's bigger than just the president and the vice president. Like there's congressmen, there's
like police commissioners, and things like
so
that. You know, people that deal with, you know, like we was voting for something. I had asked my mom, was like, clerk. He's like a clerk or something. I guess they get the paperwork to give to the judges, and like clerk for the Supreme Court. I think I was like, yeah, it's a lot of things. So I mean, it's important. So I mean, it's not the only action. Again, it's like, but it's an action that we need to take and we should take. I mean, you don't want to be on the side and be like, oh yeah, well, I didn't do anything during this time. Like, oh, I didn't try. Like, even if we go back and be like, man, we voted for nothing, you want to be like, oh, I just didn't participate. Like, I mean, I just don't feel like that's.
It's kind of like, it's similar to like being on a diet, trying to lose weight. You're not gonna work out and then have a salad the first day and expect to lose 30, 40 pounds. It takes day by day for you doing different things. Like maybe you got to change your diet up every day, do different workouts. You gotta, move your schedule around. Like it takes different things every day and some form of consistency to get to where you want to go. So it's like you said, like it's a small step. Like it's very important. So like we're kind of trying to set our diet right now, and then now we have to follow it and like do some other things on top of that. So maybe possibly we can change some things.
You got to take action, and this is action.
So on a Saturday note, I believe it was around 2 days ago, there was a tragedy that kind of occurred with another police shooting with Walter Wallace. He's a 27-year-old man, lived in Philadelphia. The reports are saying that what happened was there was some commotion going on in the area between him and his mom. I think it was like an argument or something going on, and somebody called the police, and the police arrived. There was 2 police officers, and he was said to have a knife in his hand. And then he went around the truck in the video from last scene, and he started walking towards them with a knife, and they told him to put it down, and then they shot him multiple times. The report is saying that he had bipolar disorder, and that at that moment he was having an episode. Also, it was saying that the police officers arrived with no tasers, which is kind of, to some people it may not be a big deal, but to me it seems like it's a big deal, because having a taser, having all your equipment shows that you're willing to try something other than shooting them. But it's a very difficult situation. People were saying that he had talk about his past, his criminal record, and how he was a rapper and all these things. People use that to say that, I don't know if they're trying to validate, what was done. But how do you feel about that? What's up on the story?
Honestly, like, I saw it, like, it's been posted on Instagram, but before it's posted on Instagram, it's like, it's kind of like blocked, it's kind of like filtered, like viewer discretion advised, like you can't really look at it. So I actually haven't seen the video. I didn't want to see the video.
I didn't want to see it either.
So I just been skipping over it. So I mean, it's another tragedy, and we're at the point like, I mean, we can't really. I mean, we don't really believe. We don't have any trust in them. So like, whether it's wrong or right, like, we automatically, well, most of us, well, I know me. I'm gonna think it's like, I'm gonna think, you know, that they're wrong. Like, it's steps that can be taken. Like, I seen somebody else post another video of someone in, you know, police force in another country where they de-escalated a situation with a dude with a machete in his hand. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or like, I mean, cops, like even that, I forgot to do his name, but the dude that did those killings up north, the little young 17-year-old white boy, he had a gun. He shot people. He got off the scene. He got to go home.
Oh, you talking about the one at the rally?
Yeah. Like, I mean, you have these cases like, okay, well, you know, white people do this. You know, they do massive killings. You know, and you know they get, you know, they get to go free. So.
I mean, yeah,
it's like, I mean, I don't really like. I don't even feel like debating it because all these people come back. Well, he deserved it or whatever. Like, he had a history. I mean, the history is like that has nothing to do with the current situation. So, I mean,
yeah. So I mean, even then, I work for a mental health rehabilitation center, and sometimes at those centers, like, people have some episodes that they're upset about something, and like their anger starts escalating, or they start getting like a little more aggressive at times. And so like, we have a rule where you try to de-escalate it by speaking to them, trying to talk them down, trying to, you know, help them like calm down a little bit. And you keep talking to them. I think it's a period of time, or you give them. Some people do like the 3-step rule where they keep saying like calm down, like 3 times, try to get them to calm down, or like 3 attempts, and then they try to restrain them. But in this situation, I feel as if, from what I've seen and from what I read, because officers just told him to put the knife down, and then he's walking up to them with the knife in his hand, so they shoot him. I feel like there could be a different way. I understand that, you know, and like when you're a police officer, you know, it may be difficult to decipher what to do in that moment, but I feel as if this is happening so often.
I mean, I'm sure it was multiple police officers. Like, I mean,
yeah,
just do it now if you got gear on, like. It's several things.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So I mean, it's been happening so much that like at this point, like there's no, like, there was never any toleration. But I think at this point, like it's just like, why? Like, people are really aware of what's going on. It's happening so many times before. People are dying. People are getting killed. People are losing brothers. They're losing sisters. They're losing mothers, fathers, sons, daughters. There's a lot of things going on. And these situations have to be handled in a more efficient, better way. I just feel as if,
I mean, I feel like this goes to the lack of training and the lack of accountability held on their actions when they do such things. So it's like, I don't, like, until we, like, I feel like change those 2 things, the accountability and the training, like, it's gonna be a continuous, like,
accountability,
continuous cycle. So
yeah.
I mean, we spoke on that.
Did you see that? Did you see? I didn't actually watch it, but there was a post. The officer that killed Breonna Taylor, he was speaking out on whether he should have been convicted or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's online. If you guys are watching, check it out, and if y'all see it, just comment below on the YouTube or even on the Instagram. But I believe, like, I saw there was a snippet of someone asking the officer if they felt like they should have been convicted. So when we speak on taking accountability, I think that's very important, because it's like we said in the previous episodes, like, when you're an officer, like, you take the oath and you say protect the people and the citizens and stuff. And
I mean, it's a dangerous job.
Yeah,
it doesn't make you have to be a killer, like.
But
so.
even then, like, the responsibility for you to abide by the citizens and like do right by them isn't higher. Like when you take that position, the risk reward is very high. For example, like, the risk of you doing something wrong could be you going to prison, could be you being fired, and the reward is you saving somebody's life. So it's like, with jobs like that, like, people say, oh, it's a very stressful and very scary job, which, I mean, I commend, you know, all police. I feel like the right police officers, the good ones, do a good job, but it's just, you know, that's part of the game. Like, when you take the job and you do the oath and you take the responsibility, you have to handle it in a proper way. But how do you feel about them kind of bringing up? Because I feel like this is a common trend, which I still don't understand. It's a common trend to bring up somebody's past, like a criminal record, because they're saying that he had a record in the past of assaulting a police officer, resisting arrest. There was a situation he had with a woman in his life. I think he put a gun to her head or something. It was stuff like that. Like they were bringing those up, saying that the Black Lives Matter movement is always glorifying criminals. And I mean, how do you feel about that?
I mean, I feel like the past doesn't warrant like how you mandate the current situation.
Yeah.
As far as like, I mean, they're killing people, so it's not really. I mean, if you're just gonna kill them when someone has a past, why do we have jails? Like, what's the point? If that was an option, what do you arrest people for if you're like, oh shit, they can't change off them,
Yeah,
they're never gonna learn, just forget. Like, I don't know, it's frustrating to talk about, it's frustrating to see, like,
yeah.
I don't, like, Black death is so glorified, like, and it's, like, you're gonna become, like, desensitized to it, like, especially just keep seeing it, like, I mean, even in, like, music today, like, I feel like it's more glorified, like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, like, Drewski made a video, he's a comedian, he made a video about, people, like, kind of snitching on themselves on Instagram, like,
Songs and stuff,
telling themselves in the song, like, oh, I got this, I got that, and I feel like, but it's like, it's over that now, it's like people just going saying that just to say it, like, you're not living like that, like, you're not doing that, because, like, a lot of times if you are, like, there's a difference between telling a story and just be like, oh yeah, I'll do this, I'll do that, like, anytime, any place, anywhere, like, a lot of people not even living like that, but, like, that's like a trend, that's like fast money, and that's like, it's just being put out there for us in America.
It's just
like, it's glorified,
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
So I mean, that's another point. Like, and I love hip hop, but like, rap has like is going in a certain direction for some artists, as far as like artists that are blowing up and just common media that's being put out. Like, not the, underground stuff, but the mainstream stuff. Like, murder is okay. I think he was telling me that he made a song about killing somebody. He said he made a rap song. He was a rapper.
Yeah, they said that he had music that was, that had some connotation in it about killing police officers.
Right. So the thing is, like, we have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Some white pastors speaking on this, like, we have a problem with like, okay, we can't have Black people, there's no rap song like Black people saying, oh, I'm going to kill, police officers, or like, let's pay him back. Like, that's put on the media, that's put on the radio. Like, that's not, and it's like, okay, so do these guys have free will to say anything that they want to say?
I mean,
as rappers,
that's a good point. But
the thing is, the point that he made was, like, you remember when Rick Ross said, put Miley in there, Champagne, she didn't even know it.
Yeah. And
then he lost Reebok deals, and he lost, a couple other deals, and it's like, okay, well, there's obviously things that he can't say, but I mean, you allow him to say he can kill as many blacks, as he wants, like, or mention that, and it's no problem. But he says, like, so obviously you have some type of integrity with your business, like, but you choose what you want to have integrity on. And so I mean, you can go ahead.
No, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, you bring up a lot of things. I feel when it comes to, I think it all depends on who's listening. Because, for example, like, if certain people are listening to it and they're not part of the Black community and they hear about us, like, they hear about rappers talking about killing other Black people or talking about selling drugs in the community or stuff like that, like, they're not going to say anything. They're just going to let that ride. But then they hear about, like putting Molly in the drinks, that's kind of like, drugging somebody and raping them and stuff like that. Like, they hear that and they're like, oh, that's what I'm saying. But to them, it's all about,
same thing.
Yeah, it's all,
to me, like,
to them. I mean, to me too.
Might be, yeah, I mean,
it's just, I guess some people just see it and they're like, oh, well, that isn't
but it's the labels and then like, it's the labels that's like, oh, you can't do this. The same people that allow you to put out, saying certain things, but you can't say other things. It's like other things. Censorship. It's different.
Yeah.
With murder opposed to, like, I guess, other law breaking, or murder even towards other groups for
reasons. It's just the artists, they sell it and we buy it. So like it's kind of twofold. Like they're selling an image, they're selling like this thing about being, and I feel like it was something in the community that people had to do to survive, was to be tougher and to like do things by any means. But I feel like to glorify it. And some people even say like they're not trying to glorify it because it's something that like that's
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's the difference between telling storytelling and telling us what you came from. But like, man, it's just like an abundance of it now. Like people just rapping just to rap, or like just saying that they're gonna do things that they're gonna do, or like
people trying to search for that realness. But the thing is like people, like a lot of people don't want to be in those situations. Like they just like you said, the difference between like people who are just telling a story that like they just made up. Like they're trying to follow somebody who actually had to live that life. And if you're talking to somebody who actually lived that life, like sometimes they don't want to be in that situation. They just have to do.
Yeah, with a collection of songs, you can see if people really like, what kind of pain they've gone through.
Yeah, it's a lot of pain
circumstances, in a situation that they've been through. You can tell the difference. Like you can tell, like, oh man, I'm just rapping, like I'm just making it rhyme. I'm just making it flow. Besides, like I'm giving you a story that I've seen or I've been a part of, and it's a difference. So I feel like. At first, hip hop was just telling, stories and stuff. But I just feel like just delayed, just because everyone can put out music so fast, what I'm saying. So it's like easy, fast money sometimes,
But then it's the way you express it. It's the way. I mean, music. I mean, since like the beginning, not the beginning of time. That sounds kind of crazy, but like I guess like the being like in music. Historically, it was made to tell a story. It was made to express like hardship people are going through. I think with blues and stuff like that, like the whole point of that was talk about like what they're going through and like trying to express that through music. So I think that kind of carried on with rap music. People are expressing themselves, but now the issue comes in like,
Yeah, I'm definitely pro rap music for sure.
Oh yeah, of course, but like I'm saying like what is being put out there. Like there's a balance between like just doing it for your image and then trying to expose what's going on in the community. Because I feel like there's like people who are going through it, they're trying to expose what's going on in a way to release and to have other people relate to them, to some kind of camaraderie, so people can all feel together, unite, and like kind of make it through hard times. But on the other hand, if you're just telling stories and you're making up lies to sound cool and to get more following, I guess there's an issue with that because that's just like you said, it's glorifying something that people aren't trying to glorify.
I mean, we shouldn't glorify. I mean, we can't drop songs saying, we're gonna kill cops, kill KKK. Like that's not the getting. I'm sure someone has made songs like that. I'm sure that. I'm just sure.
I'm pretty sure.
And then, but that's not what's being played. Like
it's just a sense of outrage. I mean, it's just, and then that's something else that like needs to be spoken about. Like, what's the difference between you just expressing yourself because you're angry or upset about something because you were sad because you're angry or upset? Like, what's the difference between you expressing yourself and then you actually willing to do those things? It's like, what's the difference between that?
I mean, but I don't even know if you can. I mean, you just have to, I guess, determine it by ear. Like, you could just tell. Like, you just have to have that feeling. Like, oh, just rapping. Like, oh, they just playing around. I mean, but there's nothing to really play around about. Or that's really how it is, how they living. Like, when someone like that, like, it's gonna be known. Or they been like that. I mean, you could tell. So, I mean, because it's like they're really lost in it. Like, it's just a difference. I can see it, but to the I mean, I guess that leads us into the main topic pretty much. I mean, I don't know if you have anything else to say on it.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I can't remember the exact quote, but I was watching this interview with Kanye West. It was on Netflix. I think it was David Letterman, and he was saying that that album where I Think About Killing You. I think that's the name of the album or something. No, that's the name of the album, but that's the name of the first track on that album is talking about how he was thinking about killing somebody, and he was saying that like we all have these thoughts, these moments of rage, and like he was just the first person to come out and actually say it on a track. I feel like that's why I kind of bring up like the level of expression that's in music. People were outraged. For example, like I don't know when he made that music about killing police officers, but it could have been in a time when police officers were killing unarmed black men, and it could have been in the height of that. So maybe he could have been expressing himself. Now, I mean, do I personally feel like that's the best way to express yourself? No. Is there? I mean,
but I mean, you see, we say that, but then like, I mean, the other people, us expressing ourselves when it comes to killing each other is nothing. Right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
But now we feel bad for expressing that. Like,
I mean,
it's just something. It's something to think about. Like,
it is something to think about. Yeah. Like, I mean, to really process what you're listening to, and process like kind of like the words they're saying, what story they're trying to depict, and like what you're accepting to like in your brain. For example, like we hear things, like we hear certain songs, like all right, like I really don't like that. I don't like what they're saying. I don't agree with that. But then we hear other songs, and we're like, all right, well, we take that, we accept that. So I mean, it's just really important to sit down and actually listen to what you're listening, like be aware of what you're listening to. But also, I don't know, because you brought something also great about the prison system. I mean, that was a good point. I mean, the whole point of having that, which also, like we'll talk about that whole nother episode, but the whole purpose of that is to help people so that they can rewrite their wrongs and come back to society as a better person. So the whole idea of just coming up to somebody and killing them, I feel like you said, like that's just pointless. Like it doesn't make any sense, because like you said, like other situations where people had guns in their hands, like mass shootings and all these things, and they're able to get arrested calmly and go to jail. So situations like this, I feel like officers are trained to, or they should be trained to de-escalate things and possibly give him the chance to better himself, whatever was going on, because if he had things going on like mental health wise, he could have missed his medication, he could have just needed to be calmed down a little bit. I mean, so many things could have happened. But yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is uncomfortable for, like, I didn't even want to talk about it, but it's like sometimes you gotta talk about certain things. But it's just like, I mean, I'm just tired of hearing about it, and they be talking about protests.
Yeah, I mean, protests are good if you try and get your voice.
I feel like it's only gonna escalate. It's only gonna escalate, like, because it's so relevant. I mean, so prevalent. I mean, it keeps happening over and over again. But that's another topic.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah. I mean, protests. I mean, we kind of speak about protests in the past, saying how like it is important just to shed light on what's going on. I feel like a lot of people know what's going on. A lot of people are watching.
Yeah. Protests is to build awareness. Like, people are aware now, so now they want change. So something else will be done. And we talked about that in other episodes, what can be done.
Yeah.
I
mean, yeah, and like you said, like I really didn't. I mean, these topics, like even this podcast, like, the importance of like Black culture and being African American, like there's so many great things that come with that, and it's a shame that like during this podcast we have to talk about things happening. People, I've got questions over like saying like, oh, why do you talk about this? Why do you talk about that? It's because this is happening over and over and over again, and it's our job, as people part of Moot Point Podcast, to talk about things that are uncomfortable and shedding light on it. They're talking about it because these things, even though it's very uncomfortable and it happens so often, it needs to be spoken about. So, I mean, I guess on that topic, I guess we can kind of dive into, because last week you were speaking about how the Black culture, the African American culture doesn't really, or the African American community doesn't really have a culture.
Not that we don't have a culture. Sorry if I said that last week. I didn't mean that we don't have culture. It's that, like, I guess, like, for a lot of us, we don't have, like, tradition. I would say, like, tradition and heritage that we can look back to, like, 5+ generations ago. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of other ethnicities get the chance to do, like, oh, you know what I'm saying? Like, we've been doing this forever. Like, people have traditions where they've been doing this forever. Like, even thousands of years, like 1,000 years ago. Like, and it's something like we can't look back to. But I mean, we have culture, but I feel like it's all different. Like, it's all different in its own way. Like, north, up north they have different cultures. Like, for example, go-go music or something, like up in DC or whatever. And then, you got bounce music, and we got, there's different type of music in different areas, the bounce music in Louisiana. And so it's like, I mean, we have culture because, like, I mean, we're creative, like.
Yeah. A lot of innovators.
Yeah. We have to keep reinventing the wheel because people bite what we do and then they take it for theirs. And then we have to do it again, like with rock and roll, just with the whole music. Like, we did the blues, the R&B, like we changed the whole landscape of music. I mean, we was involved in everything, even with the Renaissance, not the Renaissance, yeah. like the Harlem Renaissance period.
Mm.
We was doing classical music. Like we get involved in all the arts, and you know, so we're very creative, and I feel like we have to be because we don't have that tradition to lean on. So,
but isn't that kind of beautiful? The fact that we have so many things, like so many different traditions and things that we have that we create, like on the whim sometimes, like within our family. Just something to do, like for example, like people have like yearly barbecues and stuff like that, like little events put in our family just so we can have some form of tradition. And it's like you say, even with the music, you got movies, what else? You got art, you got Black history. Like there's so many things that's like put into our culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're definitely creative people, for sure. But it's like, I feel like at this point, it's hard for us to stick to like coming together because we don't have like one solid identity. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like we don't have something that we all identify. I feel like we always have all these disagreements, but we can't put it to the side and be like, oh, I'm this. Like even like when it just comes to being Black, that's like Black, you know, that's like a gray area right there. Like even when it comes to being Black, we can't even define that. That's kind of what I was really speaking on. Like it's hard to define like the identity is just missing. Like we know we're this and that. And it's because our identity has been stolen. And even back in history, like they whitewashed history. You know, they failed to tell us things, failed to tell us about inventors. Failed to tell us about people that paved the way. Failed to tell us about certain things that we've done. Like you want to know that we created rock and roll, like the blues and everything like that.
I didn't know we created.
Yeah, we all that raw music, man. Like we took America, like American culture, so like dependent on Black culture. Like you wouldn't even you just be so surprised. I mean, because like when you think we was free then, and we were booming like with ideas. Like I'm talking about just writing. We was writing, we was reading. Poetry, music, like all the art forms. So
yeah. I mean,
but I just feel like that identity is missing. It's like even amongst the Black communities, like we have. I mean, I guess like the Mediterranean, sorry, the Caribbeans, like they have different cultures, which is cool.
Some like ethnicities put within the Black, because like for example, I was just thinking about that. For example, I work with this guy. I'm not gonna say where I work at, but yeah, I work with this guy. He was saying that his dad's from Ireland, so he's a Black Irishman, and like I had no idea, like and so we was talking about that and how like there's so many different, like even in America, like there's so many, well especially in America, so many things like intermingled that could be called Black that we don't know, like so many different cultures and stuff and so many different ethnicities, so many things that so that's why it's so difficult to figure out like what do we deem Black and not Black. And we talk about skin color or we talk about like culture, like there's so many different factors put into that, because you could never, you can look at somebody and say, all right, like he's Black, and he could, obviously he's Black, but then he has so many other, or he or she has so many other things like in their culture, like in their history. So it's just like their family history. So it's just,
that's what I'm saying. That's all. Difficult. I feel like we don't have that historical tradition like to lean on. Yeah. You be like, oh yeah, we're all this, like, because we don't even really know.
But we could though.
Too far back, like, but we're learning now. This is the age and age of information, so we're learning about our past, learning where we came from. But I feel like that's important, so we have some, something to lean on that we all can, come together and identify as, and that will kind of, help us. I feel like it's just a lot of individualism, I just feel like that's what America, Western society has made us, but I don't feel like we're meant to be that way, so I feel like we have to get back. Like I know capitalism, people speak on capitalism, that makes you that way, but I feel like we have to lean back on a community effort, like, it takes a village type deal. That's one of my favorite quotes, like it takes a village. So I mean, and that's kind of what we were doing back in the day, like my parents, you can get, beat by, anyone like that.
Neighbors, neighbors are like, because everybody, like, it's communities, like you said, But it's like you said,
even back then, the teachers could whoop you, like.
That's a little different.
I'm saying that's different, but I'm just saying, like, that's how much things have changed from, like, that's just one generation. That's my parents.
Yeah.
our parents not that old, so
Yeah.
that's one generation. That's just how much things have changed since then, which is crazy to see. But I feel like we have to go back to collective groups, just being a community, just supporting one another, not being afraid to. I feel like you can't make judgments anymore,
But what do we support? Like I said, like if we struggling with, because I hear some people, and like usually when we speak about ideas, we speak about things that we're seeing around us, like on social media or the peers or whatever. Like I see people talking about, well, I support this person because like I know that he's black. I don't support this person because like he doesn't know my struggle because he's not black. It's like that's why we're trying to figure out like what is black and what isn't, and what we support and like what we don't. And so that's kind of like that's why I asked the question like what do we support?
That's what I'm saying. We need
that's a very tough question.
Yeah, we need the identity.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. It's like I don't even know what we can lean on all together. Like I don't, because there's always people. That's what I'm saying. We're just so spread out right now. We're just so dispersed. We all have these different beliefs, and so I mean, if we, I guess, get under the same belief system, maybe.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, like from a religious standpoint, maybe, but other than that, I don't know if we're gonna like see eye to eye as like we're the same. Because I mean, you unless you go the other route and be like, race is just a social construct and it's nothing and everyone's just a person. I mean, so some people look at it like that, but I mean, this is not the reality.
It's kind of difficult to
that's kind of deny. Like that's just denying the truth, like what you see in your face. Like obviously we all are people.
Yeah.
But I mean, we were raised different ways, different traditions. So I mean, we're not going to say. I don't think race is a social construct. So
no, it's definitely something that should be acknowledged. I mean, it has to be acknowledged. You kind of have.
I mean, you can't just look at somebody and be like, oh,
kind of have a
you
choice.
See something like you see something, so you can see things like even though you might not know exactly what's what, but you can see there's differences, and I feel like a failure to acknowledge that is just being like, I feel like that's being ignorant. So I don't feel like that's the solution. So
yeah, I feel like there's a similarity because we speak about the minority group versus just the African American group. Like because minorities like so many different categories within there. I feel like there's some similarities in struggles. There's some differences in the struggle. Obviously, like you said, just like it comes down to finances, economically. It comes down to geographically, like where you're at. It comes down to how you're raised, the culture behind it. There's so many things that come with that. When it comes to saying like what's black and what isn't, I mean, me personally, I feel as if I don't know. Like I say, I mean, I'm still stumped on that. Like,
we had a little problem with the power outage, but I think we were talking about defining what it is to be black or what is black, and there's a difficulty in that because, like I was saying, we have so many different, genetic variations, physically, we just our appearance varies so much, like from skin tone, hair texture, so things that you can see, your body types, everything. So it's kind of like hard to pinpoint that. And then you got people of other cultures, like like Indians in like actual India, that's like my color, or you have people in Mexico that's like my color. So it can't just be like just a darkness of the skin tone, So I mean, it's very difficult to try to come to terms, and that's why I was saying, not that we don't have culture, but it's hard. Like you always lean back on traditions or where you came from, and like that being taken away from us gives us like a loss of identity, and I feel like it's like an identity crisis now, and like we're struggling. We're going back in history, like we're learning about who we are, but like it's easier now. So that's why I'm so thankful for the internet, because it's so much like just coming to light. Like we're getting to find out who we are, where we came from before. I mean, because it wasn't taught to us, and it wasn't taught to us for a reason. And it's like you forget. Like I mean, that's part of the whole white supremacy. And that's part of it. Like make the people forget who they are. So I mean, it was a reason they didn't teach us history about ourselves. I mean, it was a reason. It wasn't just like, oh yeah, they forgot. I mean, all this is planned, and so that that they know that will lead to an identity crisis, and we're struggling trying to figure out that now. That's like traditions is important, or just finding like you know, something that we can connect on, something that we all can, you know, see ourselves as, you know, historically, like, you know, submitting to something, maybe, you know, like I said, you know, comes to religion or something of that sort, because it's difficult. Like, I mean, it's just hard for us. So
yeah, it seems as if you're speaking about like reclaiming identity by like going back and doing our research and reading and just actually being observant, like what's going on now and like what happened before us. I mean, I feel like that's a very good point when it comes
getting back to like, you know, heritage. I guess you could say, like, we know like what we've done as a recent. I mean, I would say we kind of know, but even then, like, we still need to go back, like, even to like the 20s, 30s, 40s. Like, I believe that's a period that we could begin to see again, like, as far as the Renaissance, you know, the Renaissance is concerned, not the festival, I don't know why I keep saying that, but, you know, the Renaissance, like, where we just, like, black people just exploded in, like, all areas. I feel like we're kind of looking like a second coming of that. So, I mean, so,
and I
but
feel
that
like
took, like, a lot of knowledge, a lot of effort, and a lot of breaking down barriers. So, I mean, this information age makes that even more, you know, just more accessible. So,
yeah, I feel like it's also very important to learn about the different cultures other than yourself, because like you said, just because it's such a ride, like what also difficult to put the line in between like what is black and what isn't, but also like being black, like I feel like African American, like there's so many different things that entails. So I feel like it's very important for you to do your history, like learn about different cultures and different things.
You saying different cultures as far as like what culture?
For example,
like Puerto Rican example.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, yeah, Puerto Rican, or like I said, he says he's a black Irishman.
Yeah.
So like, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna look at, you know, the history of that, see where that comes from, see how that came about, because I mean, that's like, that was shocking to me. I had no idea that even existed. So when you figure out people exist, for example, like it's like him, you want to sit down, like research it and see how, you know, like what happened in history to cause it to happen. And so that when I meet other people that have similar backgrounds, I can understand and be like knowledgeable of that.
Right. I mean, there's like even in Jamaica, I heard like there's like Indian Jamaicans and Chinese Jamaicans. I mean, like, you know, so that's a different standpoint. But even as far as like I was saying, like for the Puerto Rican example, like, you know, like the things that y'all do, it came from something, like, so, you know, just tracing that back, kind of, you know, like just backtracking and seeing where those things come from, because it's like, you know, I know we create a lot of different things on the whim, but like something had to inspire us. And I guess that's going into another topic as far as like, I guess it can be seen as like black can be seen as like a certain spirit or like, you know, soul, like, you know, and just certain energy, you know, how we got like, you know, soul music, or, you know, just that whole era, like, you know, soul food is like an extra little something, like, you know, just like a little intangible. And I, you know, that's why I find the beauty in, you know, being black. It's just like the extra little, you know, it's kind of indescribable, you know, sometimes, you know, we can't really put a, you know, description on it, but it's just, you know, just something different, just how we, you know, carry ourselves, or how we're able to overcome, or how we're able to, you know, create from nothing. I feel like that's part of our culture, like taking, as far as, you know, especially being in America, taking the bare minimum and making the most of it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's something to take pride in, you know, our people did that, you know, so, I mean, I know we don't, sometimes we get discouraged in the situations that we're dealing with now, but if we're looking at recent, as far as like culture and traditions, as far as, you know, we just going back a couple generations, we made the best out of, you know, just the worst circumstances. So, I mean, there's something to that, like, there's something in us that made us, that allowed that to happen. So, I mean, I feel like that's kind of I'm trying to get towards the definition of, you know, being black, but that's, you know, something just, you know, maybe like, you know, spirit or soul, you know, I mean, because it's like I said, it's difficult to define on the outward appearance. Like on the outward appearance, it's difficult to define, but I'm saying like those intangibles that I just mentioned, like, you know, so it's something different, just like the creativeness, that just all the things that I mentioned.
Yeah, like innovative,
innovative, like, you know, like
persevere.
Yeah, perseverance, and just like, you know, just expression, or like, you know, just actually
expressive. Strong. I mean, all the intangibles that kind of like that were laid down before us to get us where we are now.
Right.
Which people still, like you said, people were showing now even to this day, especially when our backs against the wall. You got to show these intangibles and make change. So, but earlier we spoke about. I know you were talking about, because like what is black, you know. There's different debates about everything, like in terms of your culture, and then so like if that makes you black, and then it comes down to the color of your skin, like talking about like we talk about colorism and stuff like that. I've heard things like people say, "Oh, you're not black enough to be considered this," or dark skin versus light skin and stuff. So now we're gonna shift into colorism. Thank you for watching the Moot Point Podcast, where we speak with the people and not for the people. Make sure you guys hop on our Instagram, like, follow, comment,
subscribe,
yes,
all that.
Yeah, on the YouTube, subscribe. Make sure you like and comment too. We'll obviously, just like we did in the previous times, we gonna comment, we talk about it, and we usually answer you guys back. But thank you guys for the support. We'll see you next episode.